Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is going to be a review of the Galaxy Note 7. I've been using it for a week and a half and have a pretty good understanding of what this phone is all about, its pluses and minuses, and that's what's going to make this video different than my previous reviews, as this is 10 positive things and 10 negative things about this phone. If you want specific specs, I put those in my unboxing video, which I'll link here, and you can check that out if you want all the specs. I'm going to talk about the positive and the negative about this particular device. It's a really nice device, but it's got some ups and downs. So let's first talk about the display. The display is really second to none. It's got this curved 5.7-inch super high resolution display, and put it next to anything and you won't be disappointed. It's vibrant, it's clear, it's crisp, text looks really nice as you can see here. It's just overall really, really nice. And that's always a great thing. The next thing is the actual ambient or always on display. So if I turn this off, you'll see it'll turn on the actual time, and this just moves around the display similar to the S7, and it really doesn't need a whole lot of battery. It just moves around and tells you the time. You can customize it, you can turn it off if you don't like it, but it's a really great display and it's always on. The third thing is the camera. The camera is a 12 megapixel camera, and it's a really, really good camera. I did a camera comparison, so if you want to see how it stacks up against an iPhone, the iPhone 6s Plus was out when I had this. By the time you're watching this, maybe the new version of the iPhone's out, and who knows what camera will be better, but right now, this is the camera to beat in my opinion. It's got great overall look to it. It's really got a great video camera, and you can just see for yourself. I'll show you some pictures now and some video. The front-facing camera is also great. Just overall, great package as far as that goes. The fourth positive about this is it has fast charging. Now, this is a USB-C adapter, and that's great because it's going to be basically the newest thing on everything. It's on a lot of phones. Samsung did not put it on the S7 for some reason. And just to give you a quick size comparison, there's the phone side by side. This is an S7. This is a Note 7. You get the idea there. This is a little bit bigger, 5.7-inch display. As expected, the Note is the bigger phone. But with this fast charging, you've got this USB-C connector, plug it in, and you'll go from that 63% to 100% in probably about an hour. If this was empty, you'll jump up to about 60%, probably within 30 minutes or so. It does vary from time to time when you plug it in, but if you're around 10% and you need to quickly charge, throw it onto the charger, plug it into the USB-C adapter, and it will charge pretty rapidly. Over time, it will tell you how much time is left also to finish charging. It's a really nice adapter. It's solid. This can power and transfer high-speed data as well. The fifth great thing about this phone is the fingerprint reader. It's really fast. Just click and it unlocks just like that. We'll go back, do it again. You'll see it's really fast. Program a bunch of fingers to it, just as fast as any other phone out there, if not faster at times. It just depends. Sometimes it does act up from time to time and asks you to wipe it off, or it's a little bit slow, but most of the time it's super fast and just a great feature to have there. It doesn't get in the way. It just makes the experience better. The fast fingerprint reader is great, but the next best thing, the sixth best thing, is its build quality. The S7 had great build quality, and the Note 7 has really great build quality. It's glass and metal around the outsides. You've got metal volume buttons. You've got metal all the way around with the headphone jack and the speaker grill. It just feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's flimsy or weak or poorly designed. Samsung's done a really nice job here. Along with that great build quality, the seventh positive is it's IP68 certified, which means it's dust resistant and water resistant up to an hour underwater, up to about a meter or so, or whatever the manufacturer specifies. So everything's waterproofed. You don't have to worry about water getting into your device and ruining it, and it really just is solidly built that way. The eighth positive thing is Samsung Pay, and while I won't go in and show you all the details, they gave me this rewards card here for just trying out Samsung Pay. So the idea is you slide that up, put your fingerprint down, it unlocks it, and basically transfers your number to the NFC reader in the back. Or this is a little unique, though, in that it works better than Android Pay or Apple Pay. You don't need to have a special terminal. You need to have a normal card reading terminal, with the exception of one where you would actually slot it into the card reading terminal and slide it back out, more like an ATM. Those don't work with this, but this works with just about any terminal because you unlock Samsung Pay, just put it up next to the card reader, and it transmits your data magnetically over that magnetic reader, and you can just pay with it. It pays at just about any place with a credit card reader. So it's really convenient. It also works with your rewards cards or whatever you've got. Slide it up, select your card, thumbprint, and pay. It's really great and very simple. Now, it wouldn't be a Note without the S Pen, and that is the ninth greatest thing. It's basically a Wacom style pen, and the great thing about this is they've added a really simplistic interface and Smart Select. So let's go into YouTube and show you how that works. Now, the Smart Select, here's my Android Nougat review. So if I go in here, go to Smart Select, I can create an animated GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce that. We'll go here, position it, hit record. So right now it's creating an animated GIF, and you'll see if I stop it, we've got an animated GIF. And then we can just share it or save it or draw on it, whatever we want to do, and it's saved for your use. Really handy feature, and it's really nice. It's just built in, one extra thing that the pen now does. So that's great. Sensitivity is great, and it just seems like it works naturally with this device. The 10th positive on this device is health. If you go into their built-in health app, you've got all of these different things that it will track, especially if you've got something like the Gear 2 that came with this. They'll give it to you for free, or you could select a 256 gig expandable memory, and you can measure your heart rate, your oxygen level, or your stress level. So if I go in and measure my heart rate, just put your finger over the sensor here, and let's see if we can go back. We'll measure it. I've got my finger over it. You're supposed to keep quiet, so the rate may be higher than normal because I'm doing the video as well. But it's measuring that information. You can save it. You can also, it's okay. You can also tell it what you're doing, your current status. We'll save it for now. You can go back, and you can tell it what you're doing. You can save your food in here and everything else. Instead of having separate apps, it's all done in one app, and it's pretty well done, and Samsung did a nice job with that. On to the negative things about this device. This is a great device. You can't really deny that as far as devices in general go, but the number one thing I've found that to be controversial on the Note is the curved display. I actually am pretty neutral about it. I've handed this to some people that use a Note 3, Note 4. They don't like it at all. They think it's not like a Note, it's more like a Galaxy S7 Edge. So I don't know that it's really a negative. It may be me stretching a bit, and some of these other negatives are me stretching a little bit, but it's okay with me. It might not be for you, and that might be a negative for you. The second thing is the iris scanner. While that's kind of neat that it's built in here, Let me show you how it works. This is my negative reason for it. If you hit the button here, you could just simply unlock with your fingerprint, or you can use the iris scanner. But in order to do that, you need to turn it on, then you need to swipe, then because we're under bright lights, it doesn't work as quickly. When we're under normal daytime conditions or even dark, because it's infrared, it works very quickly. So I'll turn this back on, slide it. Oops. Well, there I am. You'll see it worked quickly there. But it's an extra step. It's just much quicker. Put your thumb down, unlock, and you're in. So that's the only reason this is a negative to me. I think it's a good idea. It's quick, but it needs to be improved that way in the future, or maybe work a little bit faster. The third negative thing is the speaker. The speaker is really just average. Being that this is a Note and it's waterproof now, that may be one of the reasons that it's just okay. But being that it's a Note, they could have made it a little bit bigger, maybe put stereo speakers on it. It's one thing I love about the Nexus 6P is the dual front-facing stereo speakers. They could have done something like that on here. I assume I'm not the hardware engineer, but it would be nice to have room to put those on here and make it sound a little bit better. It's okay if you have a Note from before. I don't know that you'll be disappointed, but it's not any better. The fourth negative thing is sort of a negative for some and not for others. For me, it's a negative, and that's battery life. Battery life on this device compared to my iPhone 6s Plus, which I use side by side the entire time, I actually got about 30% less battery life on this than I did the iPhone. I set this up identical to my iPhone in the sense that it has 4 accounts that check regularly or push information, and it just got less battery life. Now, I know other people that got way better battery life than their iPhone 6s Plus, and I don't know if it has to do with the emails, but in real world use, and let me show you here, just to show you that it's something that I thought would be a little bit better in this particular device. There we go. Now it says 19 hours remaining. Let me see if it'll show us. We'll go down to screen on time. Right now we're at 61%. I've had 47 minutes of screen on time. So for some it might be great. For others it's not so great. I'm not sure why it's not phenomenal for me. There have been some bugs with these devices, but right now it's been okay. It will get me through a day, but it hasn't been great. And it is a pretty big battery. But it does have wireless charging, so that kind of makes up for it. But that brings me to the fifth negative, and it's a non-removable battery. Now, that's not a problem for me personally, but I know those coming from older Notes or some of the older Samsung devices want that removable battery. You'll have to determine for yourself whether or not it's worth it to have the waterproofing and the fast charging and everything, or a removable battery. To me, I'd rather have this device, but for some, that's a big negative. The sixth negative thing for me is TouchWiz. Now, TouchWiz is a lot less intrusive in this device than it has been in the past, and it has some positive things like the App Edge here, where it gives you the weather, or we can go to Apps Edge, and that's nice, and the built-in pen support is nice, but I'd rather have the clean input of the Nexus style without this overlay, because this overlay slows the phone down. Now, I can modify it a little bit, change the theme, but these folders I just don't like, and I don't like the overall feel of TouchWiz. I just wish they'd let me have a Nexus version or a pure version of Note 7. For some people, it's not going to be a big deal, but that would be my preference, and I see TouchWiz as a negative. The seventh negative might surprise you because this has such good build quality. This being glass, you'd think it'd be better, but this feels like plastic to me. The back feels very plasticky. It doesn't feel very high-end until you feel the edges or the front, which is obviously going to be more interacted with than not. And especially if you have a case on the back, that won't be a big problem. But if you're someone that's like me that likes to use the phone without anything on it, it just feels plasticky. Even next to the S7, this feels a little bit more high-end for some reason. I can't really understand exactly why, but it just does. And there's something about it. Even though this is Gorilla Glass 5 and everything, and the front feels solid, the back just feels like plastic for some reason. The eighth thing is cost. Now this, having all these features is really nice, but it does come at a very high price. This phone with 64 gigabytes of internal storage is $880 plus tax. So after tax, this cost unlocked, at least where I live, about $940, almost $1,000 at this point for your phone. Now, that doesn't mean iPhones can't cost more. but with the same configuration, the iPhone unlocked is actually $30 cheaper than this particular device. So if that gives you any idea. It's a really great technology device, and lots of packed features are inside this device, but wow, is that expensive. Now, you obviously can get this on contracts and things cheaper, but it's really expensive up front. It does have one major annoyance to me for such a high-end phone, and that is the ninth negative thing, is that it lags occasionally. Sometimes when I'm going into different apps, sliding between screens, the screen seems to lag. I scroll, it will lag, and sometimes you open a folder, it will lag. That's to be expected once in a great while, but right now it seems to happen more often than not, at least a few times every time I use it or throughout the day. So I know there have been some bugs with this, and there's going to be software updates to address those bugs. I haven't gotten those updates yet, but that's a pretty negative thing for such a high-end device. And it might be that Snapdragon processor that's in here. It just may have some issues here and there, but it does lag occasionally. At least it did for me. And the 10th thing that I found to be negative, and there's plenty of other positives and probably some more negatives, but I just wanted to keep it to 10. The 10th thing is the labels from the carriers. Now, obviously, you can avoid this by just getting a T-Mobile version in the United States or unlocked when they come out. But this one is AT&T, and if you're on AT&T, it's probably the phone you're going to get, and you're going to have this label on the back. Same with Verizon or Sprint. I don't know why they need to do that. They just need to keep their labels off of the phones, and we know they're AT&T. We have that carrier. So most people cover this with a case anyway, but still, I don't know why they need to ruin the phone and put their crapware on here from AT&T. I deleted as much of it as I could or disabled it all, but it is something that it comes with, and it's just more of a nuisance than anything. Those are my 10 positives and negatives about the Note 7. It's really a great device, and at this point in time, it's great to see so many great devices. From anything from Nexuses to Samsungs to LGs to iPhones to Motorola to whatever, they're all pretty high quality at this point, and we're getting to the point where they're kind of evening out, and you just pick what features you want and what operating system you want, and sometimes what overlay you want. But overall, the Note 7 is a great device, and if it's something you've been looking forward to and upgrading from a Note 3, 4, 5, and skipping the 6 because it doesn't exist, it's really a great device. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you're someone that's coming from a Nexus device or an iPhone, it's hard to say. But I'd love to hear what you have to say about this device in the comments below. I think most people will be pretty happy with it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.